Welcome to the Power of Lifting podcast. I'm EricCafferty, owner of the Mecca Gym. I am a strength and conditioning coach and a contest prep specialist. The focus of this podcast is to dive into the mindset and the drive of people who have done incredible things with their lives. Well, I guess we'll officially welcome Mr. Brett Hughes, the real estate expert and also recreational fitness participant, we'll call it. Nice. Life participant. Brett, you've always been in good shape, right? I mean, you basically played sports growing up, all that. What's been the highlights, man?
Well, okay, so I would say typically in good shape, but when I first started working out with you, I was not in good shape. So I truly remember, as a kid, always playing sports. Like right. Varsity soccer was my big thing, but football, basketball, everything. But like in my 20s, I remember distinctly I was in Hawaii and I had done this like backflip off of this waterfall, and I was like, "Hey Megan, can I see that picture?" So I'm looking, I'm like, I look fat. I'm like, this is a bad picture. And then I look at the next one, I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, is this what I look like? And she's like, yeah, I mean, what? That's not that bad. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm fat. Like, realization. You can look at yourself in the mirror straight on. It's not bad, but you turn sideways, not so good.
No,
that's when I was like, all right, I need someone who can help me. And Megan was already working out with you at the time, yeah. So I didn't think I'm like, oh, men's health is the same as a trainer, and I was like, never mind, big difference.
yeah. There's quite a difference between men's health and somebody qualified, but yeah. So, I mean, for those that don't know you, what are you famous for? That's like the infamous question,
right? No, I mean, who knows what I'm famous for? What I enjoy doing, I own a brokerage,
okay,
and we've recruited a lot of agents. We have great agents who work for us. Your wife being one of them. And we're nearing 300 agents, and I do a lot.
Holy cow!
That's great.
Yeah.
When she joined the good old team at Boise Premier, you were what? I think she was like dead on 100.
I think she was the 100th agent.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a title right there.
Great number. Yeah.
100th agent, and now you're nearing 300.
Right.
That's outstanding.
Yep.
So, keep going.
So that is my favorite thing. It's kind of like the pride and joy. And like each milestone, like I remember, like if I can just get to 50, if I could just get to 100, right. So, and then it kind of creates a life of its own.
So the life of a real estate broker. So for those people that don't know, I don't know exactly, what our audience is focused on, but they might not know what exactly goes into being a real estate broker.
Yeah. So every agent has to have a broker. Right? So the way that you get agents to work for you is like basically you want them to be interested in your training, your mentorship, like actually what you're doing as well. So if they can see you as an example of you like closing deals and making your life better, then they're interested. But in our industry, there's a lot of people where it's like, come to me, I've got tools, but I personally have no idea how to help you. And that's been where the biggest focus for us is like, I've been a top producer since I was 21 years old.
Dang.
And people are like, okay, show me how to do this in each market. You know?
Yeah, that's a long time. So how many years have you been doing this then?
Oh my gosh. I know it's like 2001, almost 2002. So
20 years.
Yeah, on the dot.
Dang.
Yep.
That's awesome. So as a broker, people come and they hang their license at your brokerage. So what are some of the things that, you might do for agents that are coming to work for you?
Yeah. So we kind of meet people where they're at. So if they're brand new, we have a mentor program that's like all inclusive, right? And it's basically they start with the mentor gets them through everything from 0 to 100. Yeah. If there's someone who's already experienced, we go through this really like in-depth questionnaire and we get you dialed in. So the whole idea is to get your marketing dialed in as good as you pay. So we have this marketing triangle that only has 5 things. And at first people are like, oh, it's not enough. But it's like doing 5 things really well versus like 20 things really shitty is a big difference. You know what I mean?
That's a life lesson that everyone should write down right now.
Yeah. And so we go over like there's the top 100, your sphere, and then 3 different marketing exercises. The hardest things you can do, but that you'll actually do.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, it's funny, and we've talked about this before, kind of your position, my position is somewhat similar in that, I'm trying to mentor, trainers to kind of train how I train and the proper way to do things. And you're kind of doing a similar thing with agents, right?
Yeah.
So what was the biggest struggle that you met? Well, when did you decide that you wanted to go from agent to broker, and what was the biggest barrier and the biggest struggle in getting into that?
It's funny. So I got licensed in 2001, almost 2002, and it's just going along fine. And then all of a sudden the market changed, right? 2009 was hard. 2010 was hard. And so I actually went to this class that Russell Brunson taught. I know you've had him on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole thing was like a 3-day seminar, and he's just like, what would you do your way if you could do it any way you wanted?
Right.
Like create your ideal life. And I'm like, holy cow, what would I do? And so I was like, I'd create a brokerage, and I'd get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. I'd add this, and have these different tools. And then it just kind of hits you. It's like, well, why haven't you done that? And I'm like, well, I don't have an explanation for that. So so I started like just getting prepped, getting ready.
Right.
And it was funny, like the initial like 10, 12 people who said they were going to join right off the bat, like 2 of them joined. Right. So the hard thing was like, oh, of course, man, if you start your own brokerage, I'll be there.
Right.
They didn't come. I had to, then it's like, all right, well, how do you recruit?
Right.
And then so each system was challenging, because it's like, okay, you got to recruit. Then you bring some people in. Now you got to retain. Okay, now you got to help them. Like, so it was, each system has taken a while to figure out how to like, I'm not saying perfect it, but to start perfecting that.
Right. Yeah. It's always constant.
Strive for perfection.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're always working towards improving. I mean, obviously, so you're about 10 years into the brokerage now?
Yep.
Dang. That's awesome. Well, I remember watching the epic Boise Cribs video. Thanks, still on YouTube.
We're gonna have to link it.
Oh man, yeah.
There's just 3 of those. Those are pretty good.
So, what did you was Boise Premier? Did you have another name for it when you opened?
So we opened as Boise Cribs.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I thought it was just a video.
No. So we were Boise Cribs.
Okay.
And we changed it about 6 months to a year in. And so we got a lot of pop initially for like the Idaho Business Review covered us, the Statesman covered us. There was like really cool stuff initially. But I went to this listing appointment and I didn't get it. And I was actually really puzzled. And this is in Two Rivers, kind of close to where I live. And I'm like, I called her. I'm like, why did you not go with me? And she's like, honestly, I think you would have been the best, but I didn't want to see that sign in my yard. And I'm like, shoot. So at the time I had a business partner, and I'm like, we got to change our name. And he's like, well, it's helping for this and this. And I go, but it's hurting for the one thing that matters, selling real estate. And so we did a massive rebrand, which luckily we didn't have enough agents at the time that it was real costly.
Right. That
was
a deal. Yeah.
It was a pain.
Oh man. I mean, branding is everything though. I mean, in starting a business, I think branding and everything that goes along with branding is actually probably one of my favorite parts about like starting a new business or just branding an existing business and things like that, because it's like the most important thing ever. Think about how many shirts that's going to be on, from your logo to your fonts to your colors. When I started the Mecca, I thought that I wanted to be red and blue and like a silver and black. Like that was going to be my color scheme. And so when I went to start getting like logos done and fonts and things like that, everything with the red in it, I was just like, absolutely not. I'm like, well, that's it. Red's got to go. And so finally, as soon as I tossed that out, it's funny. It's just like the one, a color thing, right? But as soon as I tossed that out, like things became more clear. Everything started coming into place. And I don't know. I mean, brand, it's so important. It's like the first like experience that people have with you and with your business. I mean,
people call it your business identity,
right?
Your
Exactly.
reputation. It's the brand.
And even your like blue squat racks and like just like the matching like stuff. It just like feels like when you're here, it's different.
Right. Yeah. So with that, having a sign of, Boise Cribs and a lawn, I guess the old lady in Two Rivers didn't want the
turn it off.
And I've always, not always of course, but at some point I started heading more towards the luxury side of real estate.
Right.
And that's where I've been for a long time. And if I had something hurting me from that, I was not interested.
Yeah, exactly. It's really funny how, obviously my wife being in real estate, I hear and see a lot of stuff to do with real estate, but it's really funny to me how the different agents and different, teams or businesses or whatever you want to call them, brand themselves oh, I'm a luxury real estate agent. And it's so funny. It's no, you're not. You're selling Corey Barton houses in Cuna, bro. Get out of here. But it's it's the label, and it's just funny with real estate. It just draws so many parallels with personal training. You can just say things that really don't mean anything, but they have a meaning, obviously, but there's no validity to because anybody could say, oh, I'm a luxury real estate specialist, and it's is that a certification? Absolutely not. No, it just sounds fancy.
It sounds fancy.
That you sell big houses, right?
Do you run into stuff with you don't have to get specific, but during your career when you've worked with agents, are you running into people with that kind of that mindset where they play it off with all the words but they have zero action?
Yes, but I've also seen it the opposite where somebody literally speaks it into existence. There's a couple of people who remain nameless, but they brand new, and within a year they are in the conversation as top 10, top 25 luxury specialists.
That's great.
It's amazing.
So cool.
That's incredible.
Because that's the only thing they push towards branding, and it is absolutely phenomenal to watch. So yeah,
it would be super exciting.
You can totally do it, and that's the thing. And when it starts rolling your way, it rolls so fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it is really interesting. I think so. To bridge off of that, speaking of, while we're on the topic of real estate, obviously since COVID, unless somebody lives under a rock, they know that it's been nuts, absolutely nuts. And I think around the country, for that matter, nuts. So tell us a little bit about, your experience with the market over the last year or so, and then where you think we're headed.
So I was actually really worried. So when COVID first hit, I had 6 deals. So I usually carry about 15 to 20 pending at any one time. I had 6 deals cancel.
Oh, jeez.
And they happened 3 in one day. And then I'll never forget, every freaking phone call I took was somebody else canceling for for 3 days straight, right? And I was so I'm down from 15 to 9, and I've got builders very nervous. One of my builders was Brett, what is going on here? I have $16 million in the ground. I need to know what's happening. And I'm whew, yes you do. You know what I mean? And so I was very nervous because that first little bit, it was unpredictable. And things were starting to shut down. You couldn't figure out what people wanted. And one of those people, they ended up losing $35,000 of earnest money. And they did not lose their job. There was no actual reason to lose it. They had fear. Just big time fear. They didn't want to close. They thought this thing might fall by 50% or whatever.
Right.
And it was the exact opposite. So within a short while, my numbers are hazy now, but maybe it was a month, maybe it was 5 weeks, you felt it go the exact opposite way.
Yeah. So I remember when I talked to you about that, I think kind of as it had just kind of started to turn the corner, you're telling me about all those people canceling. And I'm oh man. And then weeks later, it just V curve,
Yep.
man. So what was that like? Things got turned back on. Everybody's, looking for places again. What happened?
Yeah. So it was the people from out of town. So it was
Gotcha.
Washington, Oregon, California were hurt the hard, affected and restricted, and you could feel freedoms being taken away from them.
Right.
So every freedom loving American was calling, being I need to get to what you have, and they're
Right.
they're asking are your schools shut down, or is this what's happening here? And some of those things had happened,
Right.
but it was nothing in comparison to what they were dealing with.
Gotcha.
So they were moving here by the masses.
Oh man. So do you have any stats on, how many people moved here during like that later half of 2020?
Oh man, that'd be good to know. I don't.
Oh man.
But it was, you can see it from the days on market. Because the days on market were so small, but our volume was so high. So it was basically just like whatever came was gone. You know what I mean? So it was just spinning quickly.
What were the average days on market last year?
I'll have to look what it did last year, but there was, most of the time it was like under 6 to 12. Like,
holy
oh my gosh, single digit days.
And that's including terrible price stuff.
Oh man.
That's unreal.
Dude, just throw a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, honey, just put it up.
Put it up.
Just put it up. See what we can get.
I got a trailer. Put it up.
Yeah, just put it up. Yeah. I'll go. I mean, for this amount, I'll go live,
right.
I've got a gym.
A
trailer, right? Yeah, exactly. But yeah, dude, it was crazy. So have you felt in these last, obviously we're coming off of summer, so this is going to be a natural slowdown time for the market, but have you felt like things are headed in a, potentially a correction direction or anything like that in this area? Or
so I don't think, it's hard to say correction, but there's certainly a correction of sorts, because days on market have increased. And I'm not kidding you, there was times where we'd be pricing something and say the price was like $950.
Right.
I would tell Natalie, my assistant, I'd be like, let's just go with like $1,025,000. Like, you would just find the comp and then just add dollars to it. Right. So those days are over. Like, you're back to like pricing intelligently again.
Gotcha.
And like looking at the comps, like, okay, what does this have? Okay, single level, so you're actually trying to be smart again.
So to the people, in a nutshell, how do you price a house? How do you generate comps? Things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you literally just get on the MLS, and like, it's best if you have like a really good knowledge of the market. But you just go through and see everything that's sold, everything that's pending, and then you start comparing and bracketing to the house you're doing. So like, is this one nicer? Is this one bigger?
How many bedrooms? How many offices?
And then you bracket it until you start feeling really good. And there's no exact price.
Right.
But at some point, you've bracketed it well enough that you feel confident in a price.
Yeah, I bet you love it when people tell you what you should list their house at.
Yes, everybody loves that.
Yeah.
Do you ever get people who, I'm sure you do, but like price it way lower than what you think it should be? Does that ever happen?
Never.
Like,
legitimately, never. Because it's not a bad. That's not a bad strategy, because if you get a ton of eyeballs and you get that bid up, like, in a perfect world for me is to, like, you find the exact price and then you list it about 5% lower.
Okay.
Because you can get that bid up, and you can get a bid up even further than what their actual price was.
When something's on sale, you're going to get more people wanting it, kind of a situation. They're like, oh, that's a deal, like, put in an offer, but you don't know what everybody else is going to put in. You know what I mean? And if you get a lot of eyes on it, that was just crazy. Casey had, of course, at a time like that, she would have a bunch of buyers, right? Because every house she had to sell, like, I mean, at the drop of a hat, just sold right away. So, what do you get left with? Well, all your listings sell. You're stuck with all these buyers. And then, you're just, throwing numbers at these houses trying to get an offer accepted, and you're like, do I offer them 20 over ask? Do I offer them 30 off of ask? Like, how do I incentivize, these people to take my offer type of situation? So what was the craziest deal that you ran into in the past year or so?
There were a number of them. Probably one of the craziest, though, like in proportion. So it was in Tuscany. In Tuscany, if you're familiar, it's a nice family neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's like a move-up neighborhood. At the time, I would say the price was this house was worth like $650.
Okay.
They overpaid by $150,000.
Excuse me?
And I just kept watching it, and I'm like. And at some point, I felt bad.
Were you the listing agent?
I was a listing agent.
Oh,
at some point, I felt bad just
guy.
saying, because my goal is to say, hey, your offer was here, it was fine, but we still have a better one. Your offer is here, it's fine, we still have a better one. So they were just like competing with each other up to this point, and finally I'm just like, all right, whoever will sign that we're not going to even have an appraisal, or it's not subject to an appraisal,
right?
Who gets it? We maybe could have pushed it more. Who the heck knows? Like, it just got ludicrous, you know?
Yeah.
These
That's
people
crazy.
both just wanted this house, huh?
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a lot of quality inventory.
Uh,
So they're willing to pay, you know, it's probably still not worth that.
Yeah.
that's dude, that's absolutely nuts.
Dude, that's crazy.
So, so in terms of where you think the market is headed, you know, do you think that prices in this area are going to continue to slightly come up? Do you think they're going to come down? One of my clients, like Tuesday, he's like, "Hey, like I heard the market around here is going to crash. Like, has your wife, you know, experienced anything, something like that?" And I'm like, "Where'd you hear that?"
Yeah,
And
we
he's
still
like,
have.
somebody like at the Statesman or something. Somebody wrote an article about
Sure.
how it was going to drop by like 30%.
There's two negative articles out there right now.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's two of them. One of them is a YouTuber that has like all these stats.
Oh,
and
okay.
what he's not taking into account, because most of the stuff he says is true, okay? But what he's not taking into account is this remote population.
Right.
You can't. It's changed everything. Like our local
Right.
economy does not have to support our housing like it once
Right.
did. You know.
Right.
You can work anywhere. Like we have friends who work for Google, for Apple, and they work here and they live here with those kind of wages.
Right.
So
California
yep.
wages, living in Boise, that's living large.
Living large. It's a lot of potatoes.
Good feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I truly think though, because we still have a lot of like political refugees, like the recall in California didn't go as people planned.
Right.
These forced vaccine mandates on children in California did not go as planned. So you have people who are truly still in the fleeing mindset.
Right.
So until we normalize, and when we normalize, I don't know that we'll see a downturn or whatever, but we will certainly stabilize, and we're already starting to stabilize now. Just because if you were hyper motivated to leave, you did.
Right.
And now there's one little more like push. So we're still getting the push right this second, but it's not the push it once was.
Okay.
So what do you think is going to happen to the market locally here when we do see a real slowdown of people moving here just from all this political and COVID turmoil?
Yeah, that will be a painful adjustment for some, because like even on the luxury side, like we're building a lot of really, really nice houses at big price points.
Right.
And so that will be the first. Those out-of-towners are the ones purchasing those. So when we start settling into like a median income price for something we can afford as locals, it's gonna be different.
Yeah.
So that I don't know. I'm gonna of course knock on wood. I hope it's very easy
Minimal,
and
yeah.
slight,
Smooth.
but it seems to never be quite like that. So there's always
Right.
like an adjustment, and then you figure it out.
So what do you think they're going to do with rates then in the future? Because that's another thing that, you know, obviously affects people's buying power on homes and things like that. And, you know, so far, like last year, I mean, the rates were nothing.
Yeah, they'll continue to be nothing, because like if you move rates at all, even a tiny little bit, it crushes buying power. So like it's interesting. It's really fascinating. But if you say a house reduced by $100,000,
Right.
but rates went up 2 points, you would be able to buy less of a house, right?
Wow.
It's not that like you don't necessarily want decrease in price.
Right.
Because in decreasing in price, you probably have increasing rates.
Right.
So your buying power struggles anyways.
Right. So it's a struggle regardless.
Yeah.
So, what do you think for long term? Do you think rates can stay as low as they are now for the long term, or, I mean, that's getting into some complex economics, obviously, but
No one has ever thought they could stay this low this long.
right.
So I mean, I don't know. Personally, like when you start thinking about government manipulation,
Right.
which we are there.
Oh, man.
Yeah, like honestly, like with the supply and demand economics that we've seen in the past,
Right.
rates should have gone up, because
Right.
you have incredible earnings from all these companies. You have real estate at all-time high. You have stock market all-time high. This was your opportunity to bump rates, to simmer things down a little bit,
Right.
and we didn't. So why? I don't know.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's like, you know, and if anybody follows the stock market, you know, especially like last year, there would be, some meeting with the Fed scheduled, or there'd be, this, that, somebody, would maybe say a rumor or something about how, rates are gonna, this or that. And there's like this fear, and the stock market would, you could just watch the downward, it's like everything's red, and you're like, oh my gosh,
It's beautiful
like
color.
just
for
stop
nothing.
it. Yeah, stop it. But then it's like, all this fear, and then nothing happened. They didn't touch it. It's just kind of bizarre to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'm curious to see how this goes, particularly in this area, just with the influx of people coming to town and things like that. But what change in the median house price did we see over the last year?
So the latest numbers was a 31% increase year over year.
Dude.
That's the latest numbers from I guess it'd be September.
Oh my gosh.
It's nuts.
That's insane.
That's
That
so
is
much.
insane.
So much.
So did
you
you
basically could buy whatever you wanted during that time period,
and make 30%.
and you would have been fine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. Gosh,
Goodness.
that's just nuts.
Yeah.
That's just nuts. So to pivot, how have you been involved in fitness, over this last 20 years of building your real estate business, and then building your brokerage, and continuing to go build your real estate business? What have you done? What are some of your tricks that have kept you in the game, and how have you been involved throughout your adult life?
So it's honestly, like, I do owe a lot to you, truly, because like I'm not kidding. Like, you think you know something about health, right? And then you look at people who are in good shape, and you're like, that guy's like just a genetic freak. Like, good for him. That's just not me. And then when you started working with my wife, and she did a fitness competition, I was like, this is incredible. Like, you can actually, like, not that she was ever in bad shape. She was in great shape before, but she got in phenomenal shape.
Right.
And then within like a short amount of time, the first thing you did was up my food, and I couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started losing weight when you upped my food, So I
That
basically,
wonderful paradox.
yes,
It is the best.
I basically just worked hard and had a lot of fun with sports and fitness
Gotcha.
up until I met you. And then as I was aging, I'm like, I better do something about this.
Yeah.
Because my biggest fear has always been, like, be the fat guy in the red BMW.
Yeah.
Like, that was what I wanted to avoid that at all costs. And I saw it
costs.
coming,
Oh, man.
Like that guy that the kid's like, hey, can this guy used to be a pretty good soccer player, good football player. And you're like, yeah, but if I do a thing, I'm going to pull my hammy. Like, that's not what I wanted to do.
And Uncle Rico.
Yes.
You used to be able to throw a pigskin quarter mile.
Quarter mile over the mountains.
Even my 11-year-old, like, he's an exceptional athlete. His buddies are really good athletes.
Uh-huh.
And his name's McKay. He'll be like, my dad's faster than you. Guarantee it. And they're like,
Guarantee
so
it.
it's like hilarious that he actually, like, because I still race him and play basketball and, like, so it's not just like, well, I used to be,
That's what it's all about,
I like
man. And I can totally relate. There was one point in time, it was actually right around before I started powerlifting, actually, that I would always be telling, well, I used to be able to squat X amount, or I used to be able to do XYZ, and I'm like, why am I not still doing that right now? Like, why is that I used to be able to? So I totally agree. I never want to be that person that's like, oh, I used to be able to do X, Y. It's like, well, why are you just lazy now, or what's the deal?
Yeah, and, like, it's just a terrible excuse.
Yeah.
Because there's people who can still do that. What I mean? At your age.
Right. And it is amazing how much of a stark difference it is. People that, like, truly exercise, and people that kind of, you know what I mean? Like, you saw the difference in yourself, like, and I see a difference in people all the time. And a lot of people that I work with now, it's not like they haven't been doing something, it's just, it makes a big difference if, number one, you push yourself a lot. It's got to be difficult, bottom line. But also, doing things right, and just not making careless mistakes that just, it's just because you don't know any better type of a situation, But how do you balance, speaking of staying in shape, how do you balance things, obviously having, you know, a lot of obligations, a lot of work going on, and still find time to get workouts in?
So like it's become like a non-negotiable. Like it's almost like a meditation type. Like I do check my phone in the morning, but once I check it, I put it down until I'm done with my workout. So nice. It's like that's going to happen, and it sets you up for the day, because like there are times where you have an early meeting and you try to get it down later, and it doesn't feel right.
Right.
The whole day is different, you know. Not worse or better, but like it's not the way I wanted it to be.
Right.
You know.
This is not my routine.
Yeah, so it's a non-negotiable, and like my big thing is like even in the soccer league we play in, like we have most of the guys are like 20, 25. Okay. There's only a few guys that are like 40, right?
Oh, gotcha.
And so we get there, like, and there's like 2 or 3 of them on our team, and we typically win, but we're there early. We're like warming up, stretching. Yep. We look ridiculous.
Everybody else shows up.
They
right
just
before.
show up ready to go.
Before,
But like even like working out with you and then getting like massage like every 10 days or so.
Oh yeah.
Like we don't get hurt, and it's like the young guys are the ones getting hurt because
They're
they
doing
haven't.
Stupid stuff.
Yes, it was the same thing I was doing 15 years ago. Like you're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know, you just assume you can just call upon it and it will happen. You know.
I wish.
Yes.
I wish. Yeah, that's funny. No, I mean, I think honestly, of anybody I know, I think I have taken the most out of Brett's playbook for setting up your schedule and like making time, like non-negotiable, like almost rules for yourself. Like it cracks me up. Like you're always making, like putting restrictions on yourself for certain things. I remember like even like way back, and I was like giving you a hard time about buying a new car. Like this is like years ago, and you're like, yep, I'm not going to buy a new one until I meet like goal XYZ. And I'm like, huh, that's different.
That's different.
And I'm like,
those people
I'm like, no, I like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, because like, it's not like you have, you know, parents or somebody keeping track of you. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously you got to take care of yourself, but you know, why not give yourself a goal to meet in order to do something?
I've got a good one. So in our last office, we had a number of good offices, nice corner one, but I took a closet as an office because I said that until Boise Premier can generate X per month that it's paying me, I don't deserve it. I'm in the closet. And then I would just meet people in the conference rooms, and it was very motivating. Like, cause I'm like, I had the worst office in the whole place, and I'm like, I will not do this for very long. But it's like one of those things where it's like you like put a chip on your own shoulder. You know.
That's incredible. I love that.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
It's savage.
Like, oh, dude, you give yourself a Harry Potter closet as an office, and you're like, I'm going to get out of here.
Ask Melissa how bad it was. No natural light, no windows. Just like, it was bad.
That is terrible. I think the same could be said for us in this office, even though this is not a terrible office.
No, it could be a lot worse.
Hunter actually really did a number on this place to get this thing set up today. It's been a disaster. I'm like every day I'm like, oh my gosh,
there's something new in here.
Like I'm just like my anxiety level is just going up. Like we need a bigger office. We need a bigger office. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Everybody's crawling on top of each other. But that's part of the fun, right?
Yeah.
Trying to, you know, grow, push yourself to grow and things like that. But
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, another thing we talked about way back when, you're like, oh yeah, I don't like check my phone after time XYZ, and I'm like, you can do that? Wait, you can do that? And I'm like, oh man, I need to do that. Like that's a great idea, you know, because you're like, yeah, what are you missing out on? Like, you know, I'm like, that is a very good point. I sit here and go nuts over checking my phone constantly, you know. And you know, the big thing, you know, like you mentioned to me back then, you know, taking time away from like hanging out with your kids and doing stuff like that. And so, you know, obviously I have a lot of respect for you, especially like some of the conversations we've had about like, you know, prioritizing certain things. It's been really impactful for somebody who, you know, was at the time learning, you know, starting my own business, and it's like something that you had walked through, and you're probably like, oh, this dude, like this is gonna suck for a while.
But like,
you know,
I truly like think about it, like one of the only things I'm really good at is copying and modeling people who have done it right before, right?
It's a good skill set.
It's a great skill set. And I don't even try to change it that much, right? And so like I realized I wasn't very present like in the evenings.
Right.
And I realized my energy level was low. And it's like because you got this tethered to a phone and you're putting out people's problems. And there's there's a never-ending list of their problems, right? And so I can just deal with their problems tomorrow from this time to this time, and then whatever falls outside of that, I'll deal with it again tomorrow. But they never go away,
right?
So I'm like, they don't need to become mine.
Yeah, no, it was just like that's a novel idea. Like I'd never thought like, oh man. Anyway, it's really like that life balance, you know, and figuring out that like work-life balance, and you know, like learning from somebody like you who's, you know, started business, you understand, you know, the busy nature, and it's like it's one of those things. I was telling somebody, I can't remember who, like yesterday, it's like, you know, when you ask somebody like, hey, how's it going, and they're just like, oh man, I'm so busy, like and I'm
busy
like
people,
and I'm like, yeah, like I mean, it's not like I take that away from them or anything, but I'm like, okay, but like you got to realize that is everybody. If you're not busy, like what are you even doing, right?
The thing that I read this a long time ago, it's always stuck with me, but it says busyness is a form of laziness and indiscriminate action. And it's like, so I don't say I'm busy, even if I am, because if you're busy, you should be busy with all sorts of stuff you want to be busy with,
right?
And then you should just be like, dude, I'm so pumped, I got all this stuff to do today, and I can't wait to do it. But like busy to me is like everything I'm about to do sucks. Yeah, exactly. No, it blows my mind. It's like everybody's like, oh, I'm just so busy, and it's like, you know, it's like you're frustrated. It's like, well, I mean, I understand that everybody probably has a lot on their plate, but that just means, you know, you need to organize and, you know, prioritize, and there's only a certain amount of tasks that we can all get done in a day, right? And so I think one of the keys, you know, for me is, you know, and to your credit, based off some of our conversations, I mean, is definitely what opened the door for me to start thinking about some of these things, is like, I've got like a limit, and when that limit has been met, like it doesn't do anybody any favors for me to keep going doing stuff. And it's, you know, even if you do love what you do, it's too much of a good thing. Like you've got to have variety. And so, you know, to Russell's credit, you know, the conversation that we had in here on the podcast, you know, talking about how, you know, you need to do things to break up the schedule and not be in the busy monotony. Because I think a lot of people just get tied up with their like busy, and they just start like, you know, they just dive into it, and there's no breaks, there's no nothing. It's just like they're just cramming things until it's done, but it's never done, right? And so they just get caught, and it's like, you know, you forget to do things like making memories or just breaking up your routine, like mental health breaks. You know, that's why I think that's a big reason why people get so burnt out. It's because they get so overwhelmed with all this busyness, like you said, and it just drives them mad, I guess. I don't know. I mean, but, you know, so, I mean, you're running 20 years strong into, you know, running your business and doing what you do. I mean, there's got to be some good wisdom that has come for that, and, you know, over the years learning that both work-life balance. But what are some of the other things that you kind of use to keep yourself in the game? Because we talk a lot about, you know, on this podcast about how like motivation, I mean, it's like it comes and goes, right? It's like it is a fickle beast. But what are some of the things that have, you know, kept you in that driven mindset to keep achieving and to keep setting goals for yourself, when obviously you've already been really successful? What keeps taking it to the next level for you? Yeah, I mean, I actually, thought about that because I knew I was coming on here. I want to make sure I thought that through. But it's really fascinating because like when I think of like even where I grew up in downtown Boise, and like we were certainly like lower middle class. Like we lived next to the M&W, but we had Warm Springs. Warm Springs is one of the greatest like $1 million houses even back then, right?
Yeah.
And the Warm Springs Mesa, okay?
Right.
And so I had friends who lived in Warm Springs, that lived on the Mesa, and like their parents were loaded, right? They would like go on like worldwide trips, like be gone for like a couple months.
Oh,
like,
wow.
That's
And I'm like, whoa, okay. But they were no smarter than my parents. Right? But they weren't like better than my parents at anything. They just had figured out a way to do something. Something different than we had done. And then like even I just think about like, so it's just in the back of my mind, like there's people doing some cool stuff, right? And then I think about like even athletically, like I had a big goal to play varsity soccer for Boise, which was a really hard thing to do. But I was so average, right? I had to work so dang hard. So when nothing has really come easy, you always have a chip on your shoulder because you can't ever let up because somebody's always coming for you, you know? So that's where mine lies is like, you know, I know I'm not the most gifted, so I better be on it. I better be organized.
That underdog's mentality.
Yes, I better be organized, and I better be diligent, and I better be working because, you know, just like what I've accomplished, somebody else could do the same thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's, you know, and that's what you think, you know, about yourself oftentimes, right? It's like you don't think that you're, you know, anything special. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a lot of people out there that think their shit doesn't stink.
But they're not.
Right.
Their shit stinks a lot.
Right. But, you know, it's funny how just, you know, like you said, just putting the work in and going with that kind of underdog's mentality. It's like, you know, you can accomplish some awesome things.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty cool.
And just that consistency, like that one step at a time, like it's like I really do credit my parents for a lot of things. Like they didn't push me towards anything, which I was almost thinking, why not, right? But they let you choose your own destiny. So it was like when I got my driver's license, I wasn't given a car, so I had to go buy a car. That wasn't easy, right? And then it's like even when I got my Eagle Scout for like scouting, you know, it's like it's this long process that takes forever, but it's like one step at a time, and then it builds success. Right. You know, even just the little thing. So, and even that like VW Rabbit with my first car, like it's a pile, but I bought it. And it was, I paid the insurance. So you had this like, you know, this genuine like, you know, proud moment of like, this piece of crap is mine.
Exactly.
That's right. Well, I think in the pride of that, like if I heard you describing that car, you'd be like, wow, that car's awesome. Like you really portray that onto other people. And it creates this atmosphere of getting the ball rolling, and everybody feels good about that.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said. I mean, you guys know, like when you buy something on your own, you know, the whole earned not given, right? But like quite literally, you know, you go out and you work hard and you earn something nice. You know, it's a different sense of pride than if, you know, somebody were to just give you something. You know, you can be really proud of something that you really worked for. But so what kind of brought about that kind of chip on your shoulder mentality at first? Do you think it was just seeing other people have success and not really, you know, there not really being a, you know, inherent reason for it? Or
that's a good question. Like I just think like I've always loved sports. I love playing it, and you would play against naturals, right? But that's probably completely unfair. They probably worked their butt off behind the scenes, but they felt like a natural to you because it just came out there and they just made it happen. So that wasn't me. Like I always had to work for whatever I had, and so I feel like that chip came because like if you let off, somebody else was taking your spot. Like you know, this may not happen to everybody, but it happened to me where it's like the coach is like, hey, we're gonna give your starting spot to so and so, and it's like, what? You know, like, so that's the kind of stuff like terrible in the moment, but really, really helpful long term.
Yeah, and that competitive nature of sports, I mean, how invaluable has that been, right? I mean, crazy. I mean, all of us are products of that for sure. Hunter with basketball, you know, I guess myself, I mostly played hockey, right? But just having that that the sports as that backbone. And a lot of people who are super successful, talk about that. Russell talks about wrestling, nonstop. What was cool is actually when I went to your office, your old office, which is almost across the street from here, but and you had all of the pictures up of you had of people, athletes.
Yep.
Right. Tell us a little bit about that, and is that still up in your office?
It's still up, yeah. So that's my wall of fame, right? So you've got guys like Jordan, of course, Schwarzenegger, although I don't love what he's been saying lately.
Yeah, I have a few of Schwarzenegger, and I'm like, I might have to throw a drape over this,
But he's the ultimate American dream, and even
sure.
guys like Howard Hughes, Oprah, Warren Buffett. There's these guys. I look up to them, in each of them in something different.
Right.
But the more I learn about each one of them, they were so unbalanced, or they are still so unbalanced that I don't want what they have. But
right.
there's portions of their personality that I when I'm making a tough decision, or you're not feeling it that day. You're like, what would Arnold do? Arnold's an absolute amazing success story. Everything I've read about him, I just can't believe what he's been through. I mean, truly a millionaire in real estate before he ever got an acting gig. It's incredible.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah, right?
You got to read his book, Total Recall.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a must read.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and he had already become a millionaire in real estate before he ever took his first acting gig, and they were trying so hard to push him into these roles of being a villain because he looks like a villain. He's huge with an accent,
right?
But he wouldn't do it, and they're basically saying this is suicide for your career. He's like, I don't need this as my career. I'm already good. He already owned property. He already had cash, so he just sat there and waited until he got exactly what he wanted.
Dude, that's awesome.
It was sweet.
Cool.
Yeah, I did not know that. So who else made the wall?
Okay, so Nick Saban, which he's not even my favorite coach, but everywhere he goes, he wins.
That guy is, yeah.
Yep.
Have you seen? He did one with Belichick. They did
great one.
You saw that?
Yeah.
I just saw that last week.
What was it?
It's how would you describe it? It's
a mini doc.
A mini doc. It's a one episode.
How old is that? Is it new?
It's relatively new. It's not that old.
I think I may have seen that.
It's on HBO
Interesting.
Max or something.
But yeah, Saban's super
Saban.
interesting when you're reading about interaction with players and leadership and things like that. That guy is one you look to for leadership, for sure.
I literally, his thing, he has the process. It's the first page of my book.
Oh,
Every time I get a new book.
Look at this. This is
right?
why we have Brett on
fantastic.
here. This is awesome.
And he says, number one, ignore the scoreboard. Okay?
Right.
That's how it tells all his players. Don't worry about, for me, I'm basically, it doesn't matter what's going on. Just ignore the scoreboard, play your game, right?
Right.
Number two, don't worry about winning or losing or the result, because each play has its own history. So
Absolutely.
it's if you screw up today, tomorrow can be great, right? Because you're just trying to stack as much as you can. And then number three was do your job on every play to perfection, master your day-to-day.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about this guy is he makes $8 to $10 million a day, but still writes my
year,
bad.
Right?
A year.
I was gonna say, dang, holy cow!
He still writes 50 personal notes to recruits per day. I mean, think about that. I don't even do handwritten notes hardly. I'm oh my gosh, all right, fine, I got to do this.
Nobody wants to see a handwritten note from me.
Yeah.
I got news for you.
I think they do, Eric. Come on.
No.
They do.
And then
I might not be able to read it, but they want to see it.
Yeah. And when he recruits a high school athlete, he has seen every play from every game that he ever played, because he's looking for commitment.
Inconsistency.
He's looking to see if that guy is he a bad teammate? Does he rub it in? Does he when the game's lost, does he give up? When the game's won, does he give up? That's how maniacal he is. So it's in some ways, do I respect that in preparation? Of course.
Oh man, yeah.
But do I want that in my life? Not to that degree, but the preparation of it, totally into.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
So he's on the wall.
He's on the wall.
There we go.
Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome.
Sorry, I interrupted you there too with that thing, but yeah, who else is on the wall?
Okay, so
I'm really digging this wall.
I'll send you a picture, but Warren Buffett, Saban, Laird Hamilton, the world, the big wave surfer, Howard Hughes, Oprah, let's see, Arnold, John Elway. Got to put him on there.
Oh, dude, Elway.
Yep.
But most of these guys have transcended at least one other thing. You know what I mean? Like, even thinking of Jordan, like, playing career, we got it, right?
Oh, yeah.
But what about his brand, Jumpman?
Oh, my gosh.
You kidding me?
Dude.
You know what I mean?
People have killed people over the brand. The shoe. I mean, it's just something else. I mean, that's not great, but it's the amount of reach that it has.
Oh, dude,
how did it become... When I first saw Jumpman on a football uniform, I think it was like Michigan or something, I'm like, it looks so stupid. Now it's like, it looks really cool. Like, it just like...
That's awesome.
It just like, it's the transcendence of Jordan.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And that whole partnership with Nike and just that whole thing, it's just...
Genius.
Yeah. Oh, man. He's kind of one of those larger than life...
No, for sure.
You know, type of figures, you know, like a lot of those people, you know, on the wall. It's just like, yeah, anyway, definitely a sports icon. So to transition a little bit here, you know, we've talked about, you know, not making any exceptions, getting workouts in, a lot of your professional career. Obviously, to me, you're somebody that, you know, has walked the walk, talk the talk for a long time. What is a piece of advice that you would give somebody who is struggling or stuck?
So each year I probably read the book Think and Grow Rich at least 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And the thing that's so amazing about it is, like, there's tons of principles, but the biggest one is the burning desire, right? And so, in fact, Napoleon Hill then wrote a book. I think I recommended this one to you, Outwitting the Devil.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculously good. But the whole idea is, like, if you have a purpose, whatever it may be, you're indestructible.
Right.
If you don't have a purpose, you just do whatever, right?
Right.
So when somebody's stuck, like, they need a purpose. Like, they got to get, like, laser focused and have that, like, white hot heat of desire, whatever it is, and get after it. Like, I think of, like, your fitness competitors, like, they can't do this without an all-in mentality.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, oh, you know what? Hey, Eric, sorry, I had, like, a McFlurry. That's not gonna work. You know what I mean? Like,
a McFlurry.
It's not gonna do it. But when you're white hot, when you got it, and, like, you know, in the fitness world, when you hit those macros, when you're getting ready, like, it's possible, you know.
Yeah.
And you actually do all your workouts the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if somebody's struggling, like, there has never been more knowledge and help in this world than there is right now.
Yeah.
University of YouTube, you can get anything you want.
University of YouTube.
Right now.
Straight up.
And so, like, if you figure out what it is, I mean, I am, like, supremely confident I could be very good at e-commerce in a month if I just dedicated time directly to that. I could be really good at something else immediately if I just did it. Like, there's so many brilliant people out there.
Dude, you can learn how to do anything on YouTube.
It's amazing.
Anything.
I was thinking about that the other day. Is we live in a spot where you, like, at least myself, where you can go to the internet and ask it a question and you will get something, no matter what it is. Like,
anything.
Like that, to me, it just seems so fascinating that
is
that
the
wasn't
sky
a
blue?
thing. Why is the sky blue?
Why is the sky blue?
And then you can freaking find it.
It's bizarre. Yeah, it's literally answers to anything.
And then it gets taken advantage of, though, so much, because then you have that opportunity, but why don't you take it?
Well, and, like, think about this. Like, have you seen, like, what the biggest sites on the internet are? Like,
yes,
the biggest page views are literally, like, Instagram, Facebook, right? Like, can you learn something? Sure, I'm sure you can.
Right.
But, like, there are, like, straight up experts in your field of your biggest desire, and you don't listen to a thing they say.
Right.
And they published it.
Right. Yeah. The internet is nuts. But, you know, speaking toward, you know, finding a passion for people, I think that, I don't know. I feel like people really kind of struggle to just find passion for, you know, things in general, right? That, at least produce them income, right? I mean, you can be passionate about a lot of things, but, you know, not all of them are going to make you rich. Like, you know, I'm really passionate about lifting weights. I guess I kind of turned that into a thing, supposedly, right?
Exactly.
But lifting the weights.
I mean, if I hadn't figured out a way to help other people, I'd be up a creek without a paddle. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess, you know, I like a lot of other things, and it's not, you know what I mean? It's not like just because you have passion for something, you're going to be able to turn it into an overnight success. But
It's just that target, like whatever that target is that you can monetize, and just going all in on it, Like I went to this course. It's been a few years ago. At the time, I didn't believe what he said, but the guy basically said he has a sign on his wall that says, somebody woke up today with the sole purpose of kicking your ass.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's not true. There's no way. And then once we became a little bit established, I felt it. Because you turn in from the hunter to the hunted.
Oh, yeah.
It's not fun. You rather be hunting than being hunted. And
I could argue with that, though.
Okay.
I honestly, everybody, this is gonna sound bad in some ways and good in others, I guess, but I don't like the constant praise type of mentality, like, oh, good job. And it's like everybody in life right now is just getting participation medals for stuff. And it's like, dude, like, yeah, I mean, good job, but like, so what? Like, that's not that impressive. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously I don't say that out loud to anybody else about any of their stuff they have going on, like positive vibes, people. But like, in terms of like things coming in to me, like, there is nothing worse for, your career than people just constantly telling you good job.
100%.
Like, oh yeah, good job. Oh yeah, good job. Like, oh yeah, you can totally do that. You can do anything. Like, so I'll give an example. When I went to start the gym, another gentleman whom I had been relatively close with, was talking to a client of mine, and I don't think he planned on this getting back around to me or anything, but he was telling, this was after I had kind of announced that, hey, I'm going to be opening a gym and blah blah blah, and this guy was telling a client of mine, he's like, dude, it's never going to be successful. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's young. I was 24 at the time. He's young and he thinks he's got it all figured out, and it's going to, crash and burn, and, blah, blah, blah. Basically he's doing everything wrong, and it's not going to be successful. Dude, let me tell you how much I hear that in the back of my head to this day.
Hey.
That I just want to, like, literally do nothing more than just prove that so unbelievably wrong.
Yeah.
And it's not like people like, oh, like, just makes me want to, kick that guy's. It's like, no, I want that guy to live a good long life and just let him watch me. Yeah. Just watch me. Just, you know what I mean?
I had 2 business cards I kept in my desk, my front drawer, 2 people that I was trying to prove wrong big time. And I would put our stats on there. I put on my stats and I put their stats. And I was keeping track.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I try to play like the you don't care, but you care.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's a care.
Yeah.
You should care.
There is a care, and you talk about like Saban, like, don't look at the score, things like that. It's like, it's not about like looking at the score. It's literally having somebody tell you that you can't do something. That there's just something about that, man. It's like, fear is a super powerful marketing tool, super powerful motivator as well. There's a lot of power that comes along with creating fear, and that, even when it comes to taking a leap and starting something, right, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear that goes into that. But I don't know, man, there's just something different about, when people are just sitting there waiting for you to fall on your face, that is so much more motivating than, somebody saying you're doing great. It's like when you're playing, classic example of this, I played my best games on the road. Guaranteed.
That's funny.
Guaranteed. There was, at home, it's not like I'd play bad, I'd play great, but there's that extra edge. There's that chip on your shoulder. You know what I mean? When you're not with a home court advantage, that just, dude, there's something about it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you get called the worst names.
Which is the best.
It's the best.
Oh,
you drain a 3, you turn around. Anyway,
oh,
I'm reliving memories of
yeah.
right here.
No, seriously. I mean, anyway,
that's exciting.
But it's momentum. You know what I mean? Like you shoot the 3 and you miss it, the crowd's got something to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
and you never stop hearing it.
then can you the next time you get that shot, are you willing to take it? You know, like that's where it gets hard. But
yeah,
that's interesting. So Eric did a short interview with me on here, just to get to know the co-host, and he asked who you're like you look up to and stuff like that, and mentors and stuff. I said Eric. One of the things is because of his ability to do what he's doing with the gym, and in the face of that person and take on risk. So the thing about risk, though, and what I've because I love studying people of history too, and like successful people, what makes them the way that they are. When it comes to risk and their ability to take on risk, like when you think of risk, what does that mean to you, and how have you kind of played with it in your life? Because leaving and starting a brokerage, having 2 of those 12 people come, like you start feeling it real heavy. Where does that play into your life?
I think the one, so like I've always been even as a child, I would save money. Like it was weird. You know what I mean? Like, and I remember asking, totally weird. I remember asking my parents, I'm like, how much is your mortgage payment? And they're like, it's like $500. I'm like, oh geez, how could I ever make $500 a month? How in the world could I ever do that? But it was like, even as a 10-year-old, I thought about that. Mm-hmm. So like, when I started my brokerage, I was already well on my way. Like I've told Eric a number of times, like just like I saved 30% of everything and I only use it to buy assets. Mm-hmm. So even when I started my brokerage, I was doing really, really well. Mm-hmm. So that risk was mitigated. Like I didn't need any investors. I used all my own money. So it was not that big of a deal. So I don't feel like I've ever taken a risk. Like I have like 6 different land deals going right now, but I'm not using bank financing on any of them, right? So like my risk, like there's opportunity cost, but I don't feel like I'm risking anything. Like I don't need the market to stay hot. Like knock on wood, I would like it to. Sure. But I'm not in a leveraged position. So like for me, risk, that would make me nervous. Like being in a leveraged position would make me nervous. But I've certainly seen people take on a lot of risk in a leveraged position, and it's worked really, really well. Right. Especially in the age of inflation. Like anything you would have purchased from 2010 to now that was an appreciating asset, it was a winner, you know? Yeah. So if somebody would told me back in 2010, like, get $300 million worth of debt, I'd have been like, and I'll tell you why, this is what 2021 looks like, I would have done it.
Yeah, well, if we could only see the future.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have dumped a whole lot of money into the stock market about March 20th last year.
But see, I did, and you did. Yeah. Right? Like I knew that was happening, right? But at the same time, and it was great. It was the best year I've ever had in the market for sure. Right. But at the same time, like just we were in a riskless economy for the last 12 years.
Right.
It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But I don't see that lasting forever.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Yeah. I don't know. Risk is another one of those things that it's like, man, that risk creates a lot of fear, you know, and it creates a lot of motivation, man. If you need it, you know, start taking risks. But, you know, it's funny, speaking of risk and taking risks, and we may have talked about this before on the podcast, but a lot of guys that are like, you know, well-paid CEOs, kind of bigwigs at companies, and they're, you know, they're risk-taking all the time, like flying planes and skydiving and things like that. Like, what's your take on all that stuff? You know what I'm talking about,
yeah,
right?
I mean, you gotta have that edge, right?
Yeah. Like
whatever it may be.
So you think with those guys, like, do you think it's just, you know, they have a hard time feeling their pulse anymore? Yes. Yeah, just I've been through so much that it's like nothing gets a rise out of them except for falling out of an airplane.
Right. I have a friend who's doing so well in the markets, but he has a very risky strategy. Okay. Mm-hmm. But on most weeks he makes $100,000. Weeks.
Dude.
Okay. But when it goes wrong big time.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like the endorphins that like makes you feel alive, like whatever it may be, like that's what people are looking for. Did I ever tell you about that book, Die with Zero?
Yeah, no, we talked about that like a couple weeks ago.
It's
an
incredible book, but basically the guy's all about experiences. He's like your goal should be to die with $0.
Right.
Okay. And he's like talking about how all these experiences should be front loaded. Like, why go to Rome when you're 80 when you could have gone when you're 20? Right? Why go hella skiing when you're 60 when you should have gone when you're 40? Like,
exactly.
Prioritizing different events.
Right.
But same thing, like he talks about all the time. He's like, people want to feel alive.
Yeah.
So if you're at this job where you're making all this money and everything seems to be going well, like you're looking for some chaos, whatever that may be.
Yeah. So what's your take on that die with zero? Did you change anything when it came to, you know, your normal behaviors after you read that? Or
it's a really interesting book in question. So it's fundamentally it's against what I believe. So one of his points that is so fascinating is he says that no one under the age of 30 should save any money. Okay? Because he says your earning years are between 30 and 50, you know, or 30 and 60. So he said you should be looking for experiences, all these things. But I think about myself, like that was such a head start that I was able to buy like a lot of rentals, you know, other things to get involved. So like maybe it's not a playbook for everybody,
right?
But I did like that piece because he's like saying like, why would you save a couple $100 when you could have used that experience to take somebody out to dinner, you know, or some.
Right.
Anyways, that was his idea. But the only thing that I took from that book that I have changed is I want to have 4 great like longer vacations per year because you could die. Like,
oh, dude.
Something could get you tomorrow.
Dude, seriously, we could have another actual pandemic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You never know.
You just don't.
Even like, and this is just crazy timing, but a guy that used to work for me, he wasn't even 35 years old, and he just died yesterday.
Oh, man.
Of something I never heard of, like PML, right? But he didn't know that he was even sick. It was a month ago he was diagnosed.
What?
And he died last night.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
So it's like, you don't know. And that's one thing the book had you think about was like, you got to prioritize these events.
Right.
Because you can't just wait. Like if you just keep waiting, like they may never happen. And when they do happen, you're not going to have the same enjoyment.
Yeah, no, totally. So kind of on those same lines, but to transition a little bit, how did competing, so for those that don't know, Brett, I coached Brett for a bodybuilding competition 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Exactly. 2 years ago, 2019 fall. Anyway, did men's physique, did the Idaho Cup. It was great. Hopefully it was a good experience. But how did that competition prep and that whole process, how did that impact you for better or for worse?
It was really hard. And people said it was going to be hard, and I'm like, yeah, how hard could it be?
Right.
It's really hard. Like hitting your macros when you're like going out to lunch and like you have other things. Like I couldn't just like have my stuff like just readily available. That was really, really challenging. And then as you get down lower and lower in fat, like I remember went to the Boise State deal to have the hydro test like in the water, and I was down to 3.8% body fat, and I was more irritable. It was harder to control my mood.
Oh yeah.
And when you're already working in a stressful environment, it became amplified. So it was hard. Like it tested some limits I hadn't tested before.
Yeah.
So it was really fun that way, just to see if you could do it.
From a mindset perspective, being able to go through that. Yeah, I think that is really interesting, especially with first time people, you know. And obviously everybody in here that we work with, a lot of them, have competed. They go through that process. You know, seeing some more recent guys go through that process for the first time, and you're like, oh man, yep, there it is. He's in for it. Let's see how you can control that. But so, what do you think like long-term implications are from that competition?
I think like long-term, you realize you can do it, right?
Yeah.
And you can just like now what the program I'm on is so easy compared to that
right.
that you have set out. Like it just like almost feels like a walk in the park, you know?
Well, you get to eat plenty of food, so that changes the game right there.
Yeah, and it's still hard, but like it just like when you don't have to be so dang disciplined on every single thing. But I do like knowing in the back of your head that you did it.
Oh yeah.
And that you could go do it again.
Do you think that it gave you a bit more of a sense of confidence and just in all aspects?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like anything that you model. It's like you wonder if you can do it. Like, can I model that business? Can I model that family? Can I model that whatever? And it's like, can I do this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So how was it watching Megan compete, obviously a few years before you? Did that inspire you to want to do it yourself someday? What did you think about that whole process in the first place? I always wonder that, because obviously I'm a part of the industry, so my opinion is completely jaded and weird about the whole topic. But
I told you, like, I came from such a weird, like, I didn't think that normal people did those things. I thought fitness,
So
I thought genetic freaks do those. And it's like, cool, you're in great shape. Awesome. Like, this guy's good at this. But I didn't realize, like, that, like, normal people could get in that kind of shape. Like, even Maggie, I went to high school with her.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And that's not a physique she had in high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so to see that you could take
now she's a killer.
Right. Take somebody
it.
who's like a normal and make him, like, extraordinary in that particular area. It's impressive to me. So then it just kind of opened my mind to, like, okay, but I had to rethink the whole training industry. I didn't even think it was a thing, you know. I thought of, like, Axiom trainers,
right?
And they don't look like they're in great shape. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, that's, you know, and that's the difference. I've talked a lot about this. I don't know about on here, but, you know, the separating factor between, you know, like, not all trainers are created equal, kind of like not all real estate agents are created equal. Obviously, you've been around the block. You've seen every form, every document there even is to sign. You know, that's why you're teaching other people how to do it. And that's why, you know, your 300 agents call you as the one to give them, you know, advice, because you've been there, right? You know, same thing with trainers, man. I mean, a lot of those guys, I mean, you know, I respect anybody that wants to get into it to help other people, but a lot of trainers, you know, especially at big box gyms, they get into training because they like working out, they like being at a gym, and you can make some money at it, you know. And if they can make some money and be in the gym, then that's kind of their thing, you know. And then, you know, what separates us is, yeah, we like working out. Yeah, we like being in the gym. Sure. But we've also, most of us have been through, you know, 8 years of college, or more or less, right? Or, you know, multiple certs, and, you know, truly want to help people. Right. You know, when I first got into this, it wasn't just, you know, oh, I want to coach athletes. It was quite the opposite, really, you know. And it's funny because Andrew just coached his first athlete through into a competition, Parker, the gal I referred to him. And, you know, I think subconsciously I knew they would be a good fit together, but, you know, I think subconsciously I kind of made that relationship between the two of them, or connected them anyways, because I wanted him to experience that, training somebody for a competition, and I knew he could do it, and I knew obviously I would help him along the way, if need be. He did great. She did great. She won her class. Like, hello.
That's awesome.
But, you know, the coolest thing was, you know, a conversation I had either yesterday or today when I ran into him back here. We were both heating up food in the back of the gym, and he's just like, man, when I got into this, I really didn't want to coach competitors. And, you know, because I'm like, so how was it? You know, how was, you know, being there on show day and having an athlete in the show and all that stuff? And he's like, yeah, you know, I took her on because, you know, you asked me to, but I really wasn't super hot on the idea. Like, I wanted to, you know, and he still does want to help general health and fitness. He likes special pop. So, like, Micah, who actually is going to compete, but homeboy's in a wheelchair. He lost his legs in combat. Like, but, you know, he wants to help people like that, vets, you know, special populations, things like that. But he's like, man, there's, like, I didn't know how much I would enjoy that, and like it was like one of the most exciting and rewarding things. He's like, you know, after the show, I was just thrilled for her. I didn't really care about myself, like my own stuff.
Good coach right there.
And I'm like, and that's because you're a good man. You know what I mean? Yep. And you're a good coach. And but it's just like, that's so cool for me to see, to be able to share that with Andrew, to help facilitate him being able to do something like that and kind of pass the torch in a sense, and help other people. Like, that's why, I've kind of gone the direction that I have. And I was in his same boat too. When I started, I was like, I don't know about all this athlete stuff. Like, I mean, at school, it's like at Boise State, like I'd help, some of the college athletes with their stuff when I was in the kines department and stuff, or, work with, various college athletes. And it's like, dude, this is for the birds. Like, absolutely not. Like, these guys are prima donnas. Like, they're needy and annoying. And like, I want to just get people healthy and in shape, because those people are grateful. You're making a good noticeable impact. But then, imagine being able to take somebody that, thinks that I'm average at best, worse than average, and then be able to walk them all the way to the point to where somebody else is looking at them and being like, how did you do that? Yeah. Like, that's pretty crazy. Like, that's super fun stuff.
And it's something you can't really, you're doing a great job explaining it, but you can't really explain it until you kind of, but imagine, same thing with you and the agents you work with, and seeing them succeed. It's like it's a beautiful feeling.
100%.
Yeah, and that's a lot of that. Obviously we're kind of on the superficial end of things with the whole looks around here, just getting them to look great for a competition. But it's the psychological transformation. It's way deeper than that. Yeah. But
what's funny? I was going to, I don't want to interrupt that. Keep going.
Well, I was going to say with you, you're helping people find, a career, like financial stability.
Well, I always think about that. Like, if they make the wrong choice at brokerage,
right.
Like, I'm hoping to set them up for their financial future, to put get their kids married, get their kids through college. Like, if these guys don't know what they're doing and they sell like 4 houses less than they could have per year, it's a huge number.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I think about that all the time, but like, yeah, like coaching is so fun. Like, I coach my kids in sports, and there is almost nothing that I like doing more than coaching, because it's just so dang fun. Like, we're playing in flag football, we're playing for the championship on Friday.
Oh, that's
tomorrow.
Awesome.
And we in the last 3 seasons, we've lost a singular game.
Oh, man.
Last championship.
Oh, yes. No.
So we're just like all
talk about a chip on the shoulder.
Geeked up, and it's funny because like, so now we're in the 5th, 6th, okay, so big time, right?
Yeah.
But we're the 5th graders. We've got all 5th graders. So the 2 teams left are 6th graders, right? Mm-hmm. We got to get through the semis and the championship. And it's funny because like the commissioner sent us this email saying like, hey, you guys are in the competitive, tone it down a little bit, you're putting up too many points. And I'm like, we're in the competitive and we're the youngest team. I'm not toning anything down, right?
Yeah, we're running up the score.
Yeah, exactly. But
send a letter back to the commissioner with the scoreboard.
Yeah, exactly. Dude. But it's funny because like, I would have never guessed how fun coaching would be.
Oh, dude, especially your kids, man.
It is so fun.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
We're like watching film and like totally just like breaking down like other 5th graders and 6th graders.
Yeah, dude,
it's just gonna get worse.
It's so awesome. Oh, dude,
it's a blast. It's a blast. But that's the same thing with my agents too. Like, coaching them is fun. Like, seeing those, like, there's one guy in particular. There's tons of them, but one in particular, Cameron. I literally, when he came to me, I'm like, I don't even know if we can take you. That you got a long ways to go.
Right.
And now he's a guy closing 25 deals a year. Right.
That a guy.
And he's young. Like, and I just think to yourself, like, this guy he's already purchased 2 houses. He's set up. Like, I mean, it's like it's so rewarding when you see people make that leap.
Right.
And like,
you take them from like living in their mom's basement.
Walmart. He worked at Walmart.
Oh, that's right. You told me about this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I just like, it's just like, do I take his credit? Of course not. He did the work.
Right.
But like, you played a part.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and he'll give you credit, I would assume.
Yes.
He'll give you credit.
But that's what's fun right now is like at a different point of the career where it's like it's not about you anymore. Like you know, like it's fun to see other people come up to play. You know? Yeah.
Well, and that's when you know that you're, you know, really good at what you do if your, you know, techniques or your ideas or your methodology is replicable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's when you know, like, okay, this really works. Mm-hmm. Like it's not just the one-offs, you know. It doesn't just work for the genetically gifted.
Yep.
You know, it's not just the special people. Like, nah, you take somebody off the street, you do these things, good things will happen, mm-hmm. right? So to change gears a little bit, this is one of the best questions, for sure. If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Oh, I love this question.
Oh my gosh, that is a really tough one. Oh boy. You know, Arnold would be one of them. Because
Respect.
it's just a straight rags to riches. Like,
oh yeah.
And then you had the language barrier.
Oh yeah.
And then that crazy tenacity. Even his own mom in his book just thought he was this weird kid, probably gay, because he had pictures of men on his wall, and she'd be like, "This guy's just so odd." And his dad was disappointed at him, because like the brother was like getting after it, and Arnold's trying to like makeshift weights and stuff, like with men on his wall, like so he would be just a great one to glean some information, and then to play at so many games like politics, real estate, acting,
insane,
bodybuilding,
insane.
That's 4 people at the top of your game. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
But certainly Howard Hughes would be one. So this guy, like, people don't really know much about him, but he set 4 goals. Okay, so he wanted to be the best pilot in the world, mm-hmm. which he arguably accomplished. He wanted to be the best film director in the world, which he arguably accomplished. Mm-hmm. He wanted to be the best golfer in the world, which he didn't, but he was a scratch golfer. And then he wanted to be the richest man in the world, which he did. So it's like, you're 3 for 4.
That's
on
pretty
huge things.
On huge.
He's like those are big things.
He's like the first Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I would love to chat with him. And like, his life was cut short because he kept getting in plane crashes. Right? Like,
that'll happen.
Back
then.
Yeah. The pilot. That you need to.
And now people like kind of clown him, saying like, "Don't go Howard Hughes on me," right? Because he had like brain issues. Yeah. But when he was at his finest, I mean, it was amazing. And the way he ran his business, those are some great books, by the way. So he took over his father's business. It was doing fine, right? Mm-hmm. He was set up. But he basically put people in charge, and his whole thing was like, how do I make the most money doing the least amount of work so I could focus on all these other things?
Right.
So he would be on the list as well. Third one, I'd probably like want to go with like a great grandpa, just to hear and just to see like what sort of characteristics you have that they did, and
things that pass along. Yeah, no, I think that's actually a good answer. And I don't know, I don't think anybody's ever said that, because, you know, you got to wonder, like, you know, where your stock came from, kind of a situation.
So my dad, my biological dad, left when we were really young, like 6 years old. So I saw him for probably like once or twice every like 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. And then I saw him just recently for like the first time in a long time. And he's like, he looks like he's 100 years old. Like he's meth user, like the whole deal. Like he's just trashed his body, right? But it was interesting talking to his sisters. They're like, "You're a lot like him." I'm like, "Oh, great, thank you."
Yeah,
but they're like, "But he had great ideas as well. He just couldn't execute them. He had some ideas that really could have worked, but he was distracted by drugs and alcohol and addiction."
Yeah.
And I remember my mom saying when I was a kid, she's like, "You don't get to ever drink alcohol or take drugs because look at this guy. Like you have an addictive personality that can be really, really helpful.
Yep.
But it can be really, really bad.
That'll scare you away from drugs as a kid."
She's like, just get addicted to things that work for you.
That are healthy.
Yeah. But you can see where this guy could go. But my point is, like, your great-great-grandpa, you could pick up some things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be super interesting.
It really would, yeah.
Even, like, I mean, a grandpa would be, you know what I mean? Especially talking to more about them. And I did have opportunities to talk to both of my grandpas a little bit, but you know, they both were either, you know, pretty old or dead by the time I was like, you know, mature enough to even have some of those conversations. So like there's something to be said to have, you know, young grandparents too. That would be like, it's going to be super nice, you know, for my kids, because they're going to be, you know, Walker will be, oh geez, by the time he's 20, my parents will be like, oh geez, not right around 70, 75.
They have
like
a lot
that.
of good years.
You know, which should be, you know, in this day and age is, you know,
following your prescriptions
is still young. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, like there is something to be said about, you know, like learning from, you know, older members of your family and things like that. It's just interesting, right?
Yeah.
So, top 3 books. What do you got? We've mentioned some books.
I think we have 4 or 5 mentioned already.
Yeah. Napoleon Hill, obviously a staple of yours, huh?
I mean, it's like the success Bible.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like the success. The best up there. Terrible title, and even saying it just makes you sound lazy. But the 4-Hour Work Week is an incredible book, because it's like it should be called the 80-20 principle. That's what it should be called. It should be called like how to produce huge results with this input. You know what I mean? Of course, not as good of a title, but the whole thing is like basically like traditional path is flawed for these reasons. You know, here's what you can do about it.
Yep. Yeah, that one was interesting. Any others that come to your mind?
The Elon Musk book is really good. Arnold's book, Total Recall, is really, really good, because you're just picking up like these little clues on what they did, you know.
Are there any that you've read super recently that are kind of new? And
so Dying with Zero is a new book, and that was really, really fascinating, because it's a paradigm shift for sure.
Yeah,
I do like that one a ton.
That does sound super interesting. Yeah,
I've been mostly rereading books than reading new ones. Yeah, which is so like that's different for me.
I downloaded. I got a super cool book recommended to me that I've been reading actually, and it was by another bookworm that we had on the podcast, Dr. Danny Noonan. And it's
another
called,
successful competitor this last weekend.
Yes. It's called Man's Search for Meaning.
It's incredible. Viktor Frankl.
Yeah. Have you read that? Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, he's like, dude, you got to read this. And I started, I'm like part of the way through now. Super good.
Okay, one I've got it's not new, but it's incredible. So it's called The Upside of Fear. Okay. By Weldon Long. So this guy was a flat loser. Okay. And he went to prison for a long time. It's like 8 or 9 years. Gets out, still a loser. Goes right back in. And then all of a sudden he makes this decision. He makes a decision to make a change. So he starts writing stuff down, getting crystal clear on what it is he's going to do. He gets out at like 40 and creates his life from there. Becomes a multi-millionaire.
Wow.
Quickly. Because he like, once he envisioned that he wasn't a criminal, and once he envisioned that there was something better, and he put like his mind to it, like that burning hot desire, you know, it was just like that. And he's like, it was tough because like, he's like, I'm a convict. He's like, people didn't trust me, nor should they. And I'm like, I've screwed up so many times, but it was really good because like, if you can have a guy with so many things going against you, figure it out. Imagine when you have like good parents, good upbringing, positive surroundings, like every advantage. Like he's doing this in a jail cell.
That's nuts.
Wow.
It's cool.
That sounds like a good one.
Great book.
Okay, top 2 movies.
Oh man,
are you a movie guy?
I like movies. But okay, Point Break.
Okay.
Point Break,
because it's just simple. It's just simple. It's just fun.
Just a fun story.
Just a bunch of surfers, just robbing banks.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Good times. It's casual.
It's casual.
Yeah, I like that one a lot because like I'm not looking for like anything in depth in my movies. I'm looking to be entertained.
Okay, fair enough.
I know. And then I have not watched it yet, but I'm very excited about the new Top Gun.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
That's what I want because old Top Gun, top. It's a tenor. Like it's right up there. You know?
Dude. Yeah. Well,
so new Top Gun,
dude. How many things, pop culture things come from the original Top Gun, man? Like
a lot,
dude. A lot. Matter of fact, this last weekend on our team trip to Seattle, it was like pop culture pop quiz in my car, man.
Yes.
I had Maggie and Justin and his wife and Kaylee, and I'm like, name that movie. What movie is this song from? And they're all like, I'm like, okay.
I'll tell you what it's from.
Yeah. And then I was talking to Ryan and Andrew about it after we got there. I'm like, oh, you guys missed it. Pop culture. They're like, oh, man, we would have loved that. I'm like, I was in the wrong car. Dang it.
Yeah. I'm not looking for much in my movies. Just entertain me.
Yeah.
That's good.
So are you like a Miracle on Ice type of movie guy?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. Well, what's the alternative? That or what?
That, or are we talking like I don't know, like a Marvel or like a like superhero type something?
Yeah, both would work. But Miracle, of course, like Rudy,
Dude,
Miracle, Secretariat.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I thought I was gonna hate that movie personally, and then it left. I was like, I'm gonna go watch it again.
Yeah,
that
and
was
again.
good.
And again. Anyway, that was good.
Okay, now that's substance though. That's substance to your movies. Yeah. I think that maybe you're avoiding the rom-com genre.
Oh yeah,
maybe.
no, none of that.
Yeah,
like,
none of that.
One time we were watching this show, and I don't even know what it was, but I'm like, Megan, this is exactly like Made in Manhattan.
Dude,
like I'm like, it's all the same show.
It's the same thing.
Just redone. I'm
over.
like, wait, this lady is like, have all these things going against her. Somehow she's gonna meet Prince Charming. Then this happens. I'm like, can we just fast forward this to the end? Like,
it's amazing how so much money is still being spent on making those movies.
Dude,
they get watched. So
although you put Vince Vaughn in, and then I'll watch.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So does your wife watch The Bachelor?
She doesn't watch any TV.
Oh, good for her. Oh man, dude, my wife's on a Bachelor kick. You know who else watches?
You can't shake The Bachelor. You watch one episode, and you start cluing in a little bit.
Oh, dude, it's so bad. And I will never forget, I was complaining about this to somebody whom is a mutual friend of ours, and I'm gonna totally out him. But he's like, oh, dude, I watched that episode last night. It's great. And I'm like, you are the last person, Russell Brunson, I would expect to watch The Bachelor.
If you watch it once, you'll watch it. You'll have to finish the season, so don't do it.
No, I can't, dude. My wife will put it on, and I'm just like, this is the worst thing in the world.
You must be the only person who can do that, because I will say that. So I know there's a new one going, and I'm purposely not watching even one.
Oh, man.
Because I'll watch it.
It's so bad. It's so terrible.
It's an interesting
genre,
field of entertainment.
So what kind of music are you listening to in the gym typically?
I'm not a music listener. Like, I've got like a couple that I listen to, but I mostly listen to books.
Would you podcast it in the gym?
Yeah.
Or book it?
Yeah, podcast or book. Like Audible is my go-to.
You go-to? Gotcha.
But like sometimes when you're really dragging, you got to put the playlist on. Right. But it's just 90s stuff. It's just like all 90s rap, you know what I mean?
Dude, love it. Love it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yep. So this is Hunter's favorite question. I mention that every time, but who would play your character in a biography?
Oh my
I
god!
typically can guess people. I'm stumped.
You're picking your character in a biography.
Oh my gosh, that's really good.
It's your version of Total Recall movie status.
That's really good. Yeah, who would you say? I mean, if you've got the answer.
Dude.
No, I was literally driving here this morning, and I was like, oh, we're going to have Brett. I'm going to get this question. And Eric's going to say, I'm good at it. And then I'm
going to put all the pressure on you.
I know.
Dude, I could say, I could see Vince Vaughn.
Yep. Vince Vaughn would be hilarious. That's who I would choose.
Right. Well, that's fine.
There you go.
Yeah, we could
Dry
could choose
sense of humor.
Vaughn.
I like him.
Dude, Vince Vaughn, yeah. He's
you know
like
which guy seems relatable, but potentially not? Who's the Ant-Man?
Oh, Paul Rudd.
Oh, Paul Rudd.
Absolute wonderful person.
Paul Rudd's a little short to play Brett Hughes. Though.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like for some reason,
Paul
like
Rudd.
he seems like he makes fun of himself. He looks like he can have a good time. Like he doesn't seem like he takes itself too serious.
Yeah.
I think. You know who I'm thinking of? Who just came into my mind is Tom Hiddleston, the guy that plays Loki.
Oh yeah. No,
okay.
Yeah, you could.
A little bit.
You could. I was thinking him, or even now we're just going Marvel people. But
yeah, right.
Never mind. That's a good one. I was kind of thinking Chris Pratt. If he shaved and like, you know what I mean? He's the
a
guy
funny
that
guy.
plays. Yeah, Starlin.
I like that better than mine.
He is funny.
Fun fact: he's actually like super conservative.
I follow him.
Yeah, he's a great follow.
Yeah, he's a great follow.
Yeah. Anyway,
he's one of the only ones to be conservative and brave that in Hollywood.
Oh, dude,
that takes a pair.
Yeah,
that is not easy to do.
It does, I'm sure. I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't think I'll ever enter Hollywood. But,
you never know, Eric.
You know,
dreams can come true.
Look at what Hollywood did to The Rock. No, I'm just kidding. I still love The Rock.
Love The Rock.
Why is The Rock rapping though? Can we stop that immediately?
I don't know, man.
He's at this point where it seems like every opportunity he's just going to take it, and he's in this spot where it's just going to get watched.
The rap was so bad.
It was
not good.
It was horrific.
I love watching the reaction videos though that he posted, and these people are like, "This is The Rock." Like, it's not good.
It's no. I was honestly embarrassed for him.
Me too.
Much.
I don't know if I'd tell him that to his face.
I'm all about people doing whatever they want.
For sure.
So cool. You got that wild hair, get it out. But this one, the second you do it, you're like, listen, I'm probably just going to show my wife, but we're not going to put this anywhere.
Yeah.
Because this is bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're actually not going to release this. But it's one of those things like, we're already in too deep.
Let's go.
We're already going for it.
Well, and he had like a bunch of other artists like part of it to get a good launch.
He wore like a strange music tank top and stuff, which is like Tech Nine or anyway.
The funny thing about The Rock,
album, yeah.
How old's The Rock now?
Dude, how old is Mr. Dwayne Johnson?
Because the dude, so I read this article is saying that he's the most relatable person because his race, his age, he's ageless, right? And he's into so many things that people are like, The Rock's my guy. Everyone says The Rock's his guy. You know what I mean? So it's like, he's got to be 50.
Yeah, he's got to be.
He is 49.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
50.
But to still have pop culture, that's incredible.
No, it is.
True. He's like the leader of pop culture. He's like isn't he the most followed guy on the gram?
He is the most followed American on the gram.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, there's
then
still
you got
Ronaldo and Messi.
He's
and
the most, yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Ronaldo's like
the soccer player?
Yeah, let me show you this.
Is the most
nuts.
followed on the gram?
Oh yeah.
What?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you think about it,
man.
What's his what's his following at? Like
358 million.
Holy cow! I had no idea. Here I am living under a rock.
Dwayne has
like 150, 200.
It's 2 something.
It's high.
It's 2 something. Where is he? He's gone.
The Rock.
Not on Instagram anymore.
He's there.
Yeah, but he's there, but
They can't cancel The Rock.
There he is. That was weird. 275.
He's gaining.
He's growing a lot, actually. Yeah, because
Dude.
he just hit like 200.
How do you get? Yeah. What does Ronaldo post about? Like
family soccer, nothing crazy.
Oh.
He's just like soccer's such a big sport
worldwide,
and he's played for Juventus, Real Madrid. I mean, when he's really, really falling off, which he's a genetic freak as well, not because he works at it so hard, he'll come to the MLS and dominate again. You know what I mean? Like that's everyone's last like.
Oh, really?
Like even David Beckham, like he came here at the end of his career. Ibrahimovic, I can't even say his name, came here at the end of his career. Like it's this great move to start get your foot in America.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's absolutely nuts.
Oh, I'm going to let you know though. Instagram has him beat. The Instagram account.
Barely.
Yeah, barely. 435 million actually.
435.
I feel like they packed their stats. Who's following Instagram? It's Instagram.
I don't follow Instagram.
No one follows it.
They have how many followers?
435 million followers. I wonder if you automatically become a follower every time you sign up.
I bet you do.
I don't know, dude. Is that for real?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I totally lied though. The Rock was the most, but now you got them. Got Miss Kylie Jenner.
Wait, what?
She's number 3. Behind Instagram and Cristiano Ronaldo. She's got 277 million. That's something we could talk about, but I don't want to talk about it. It'll take too long.
The Kardashian clan, along with like Jake Paul and company,
right?
Oh, can fall off the face of the planet as far as I'm concerned.
But it's incredible that you created this out of nothing.
Right. Oh, dude.
It's like
there's no substance.
Just by you're famous by being famous. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
What a world.
It's like you just act like a douchebag and you're famous. It's amazing.
And he's played the role perfectly. Like
flawless.
He's just like, I will be the guy that you don't like.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, my favorite Jake Paul thing. He's clowning McGregor, right? He's eventually gonna get that fight. He's gonna get that fight.
Oh, dude, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So he flies a banner, has a private plane fly a banner over McGregor's house. It's like, why are you scared of me? And it's like, just to have that much money to be able to clown people when you're an
like
absolute
that's pro clowning.
Pro clowning.
Because he's amazing anyways. Like he can get people's goat like you've never seen, and then to have some money behind it.
Oh, dude,
it's impressive.
It is impressive. Like I'm amused, honestly, but it's like how did this even happen?
Right.
Like
that's what's attention-getting world.
Like that is what's wrong with this world right now.
That's interesting.
Is Jake Paul. No, I'm just
Jake
kidding.
Paul.
So back to Brett. Top 2 role models and influences in your life to close here.
Oh man, I probably don't have. Just like that wall of fame, it's like a piece from each person.
Yeah.
Right? Like somebody's drive, somebody else's compassion, somebody else's balance. Like truly, like the more I get to meet people, the more like you kind of have to be your own deal. But there's pieces of each one I just absolutely love.
Lessons to be learned for sure.
But like as far as like, that's a really tough one. Like role model, like I'm sure everyone has said this before, but my mom, very impressive, especially like when she was single with just us, like to figure that out. You know what I mean? Like that's not easy to do. So she's certainly up there. But then there's like I truly take pieces from everybody. Like if you have something I like, I will use it.
I really like that a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean that's great advice though. I mean, people that want to be successful, I mean, you got to take pieces from other people who are successful for sure.
And understanding that no one's perfect. I like that aspect too. Is you're like, this person's really incredible, but that doesn't apply to me, and I don't agree with it. But I agree with this part of it, so I'm going to take it, which is cool.
Yeah. Well, when you watch that Belichick-Saban documentary, did you kind of get the feeling that they're like losers outside of football?
100%.
Oh, absolutely.
I felt bad for them. Like that's not what I went in there. I went in there like in this like what can I learn mentality, and I'm like, shoot, like even their house is just full of football like paraphernalia. Like
it's paraphernalia.
It's like there's no other hobbies there.
No, it is a singular mindset. And I even got that more from Bill than from Nick, but like I don't mean to be just by calling them their first names. I don't know them, but like that aspect of it.
Yeah,
it is. That's them,
and that's what makes them so great. But like I personally don't want that. Like you know what I mean? Like when it's all said and done, like I love real estate, I love land development, but like I have so many things I'm interested in. But I think that's what that's what separates them from like good to amazing. Is that they like even Tom Brady, like they're like, what are your hobbies? I don't have any. Like he's like, I love football and preparing for football.
Yeah, that ain't gonna be me. Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't pay.
No, that's really interesting you say that actually. But well, man, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. I mean, like I said, you're certainly somebody that I've looked up to for advice a lot, especially in starting my own business. And I appreciate you and your support as a client for all these years. It's been like, man, it's got to be like 7 years, something like that, at least at this point, like 2013.
Yeah. I keep referring people to you.
I know, dude. Seriously, like I had to quit my day job because of that. No joke. But it's a true pleasure, and I think that everybody's gonna should re-listen to some of the awesome things that you have to say on this podcast. Is really, really impactful. And I appreciate you spending the time to come out and hang out with us losers. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you so much.
So, all right, we'll leave it at that. Everybody, we'll catch you next week. Thank you for joining us on the Power of Lifting podcast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. For more content like this, follow Eric Cafferty and the Mecca Gym on all social media platforms.